To be the best CPO in the world, you need the best team in the world. And today that's becoming increasingly difficult because not only are we in the middle of a huge war for talent, but we're also up against some fairly awesome forces, including the social media and of course a whole new entry of new or next generation professionals entering the workforce. Today I just want to share some findings with you and give you some tips on how you can win the war for talent through social media. So let's start at the top. War for talent. Why are we in this situation where we're having to pay top salaries to professionals who have fairly limited experience? Let's face it, it's a candidate-centric market today. But I think we've all been through a period where we've seen increasing demand for professionals who can walk and chew gum at the same time, as I like to say. So they need to have the analytical skills and the technical skills that we've always come to expect from procurement professionals, but we also need people who can engage stakeholders and walk the talk. So we're needing two very different skill sets, which makes it very tough for us to find the right people. So team with this, we don't have many procurement grads, and so we're looking at a fairly tight market for procurement professionals. So that's what we're up against. We've also got this new generation of professionals entering the workforce. This is a generation who entered the workforce with far more technology skills than we've ever had. And they expect to be able to use technology to do their job very well. And in fact, they don't really even like talking that much to their bosses. They prefer to email and to communicate that way, and find it difficult to understand why their bosses don't use the technology the same way they do. And of course, with the use of social media, this new generation use social media all the time in their personal lives and are looking to translate that into their work life. Of course, they're a very exciting generation. They have travelled, they're well educated and they're ambitious, but they also have a social conscience, which is something that we have to have some affinity with. I guess the third force that we're really up against is the rise of social media. So when we look at the social media stats today, Facebook's the largest country in the world, or I should say the third largest country, with over 1 billion users or members. We've got Twitter with 400 million people tweeting every day. And then of course we've got people signing up for LinkedIn every second of the day. So social media has really become part of our day-to-day lives, and we're also seeing it obviously disrupting a lot of industries. In your social life, I'm sure you're using Uber, Airbnb, and these are manifestations of social procurement that are changing the way that industry operates. So this is obviously going to have an impact on our profession. And I think that it's still a bit of a blind spot for procurement, the use of social media. And it's undoubtedly going to change the way that we source, we contract, we procure and pay into the future. But I think a great starting point is for us just to be using the social media tools that are available and being able to communicate with our profession. So that's the rise of social media. So we've got three forces at play. We've got short supply of professionals and high demand, which is the war for talent. We've got the entry of a new group of professionals coming into the workplace and the use of social media. So how are you as CPO going to harness the energy of these three forces and win the war for talent? I guess I'd like to share a number of ideas for you to maybe think about how you can attract, retain and develop some of these star employees that are coming onto the market. Firstly, attracting. Obviously, LinkedIn is now a very popular and successful tool for recruitment. It gives you a great opportunity to actually research the talent that you're thinking about interviewing and hiring, and get a sense of where they're at with their life and what they've achieved and what have you. But more importantly, from the candidate's perspective, there's been a major shift. The next generation of procurement professionals aren't looking to work necessarily for the blue chip companies. What they're looking for is a boss, and that's you. So it's important that you do it like almost an online audit of yourself. and to see when you Google yourself or you go onto LinkedIn, what is it that the candidate is learning about you. Obviously having a very up-to-date profile, and of course looking at that all-important photo is valuable, and anything that is can be dated. If the millennials see that your profile or information is out of date, that to them will say that you're not on social media all the time. Another very important thing that the next generation of procurement professionals is going to look at is how connected are you as a CPO with the broader procurement community? Are you connected with the other leaders in the profession? Are you a member of certain online groups? Are you commenting? So these are all things that a candidate will look to research and assess you as a boss. I guess then once you attract your star employees, it's really important obviously to retain them. And I think once again, we've talked about the importance of social media to these professionals. It's really important that your company's social media policy allows them to continue their online networks and enter a community of practice so that they can connect with people around the world relating to their profession, also do the research that they're used to doing. So that's a very critical part. I think too what we've seen with a lot of best practice companies is that they also look at their online presence. Once again, this is just as valid for the candidate market, but when someone goes online and says, what is it like to work at Procurious in procurement, that there's actually a story there and that they can see other professionals, or there's a video of what it's like to work in your workplace. Key point here is to make sure that that story is authentic. We all know how much it costs to have a bad hire. So it's really important that the true culture of your business and what happens within your business is represented online so that there's not a disconnect. I guess the third traditional model we talk about is developing our talent. And really online is a very affordable and convenient way to upskill your team. At Procurious, we've developed a lot of e-learning modules that will help people understand some of the basics and more advanced topics. But of course, there's webinars and podcasts. And once again, it's important that these people are able to access that. So look, there's some ideas for helping you win the war for talent with social media. And I guess the challenge that a lot of people come to me and say is, well, how do I get started? So here's a few simple tips to help you as a CPO get started on social media. Firstly, it's really important that you just look at the social media landscape and understand it. And then choose one medium that you want to start it with. So obviously there's LinkedIn, there's Facebook, obviously Procurious, and other online forums that you can join and gain to understand how these landscapes work and what you can comment on. My second and probably most important tip is to find yourself a millennial mentor. I know I've had about 2 or 3 25-year-olds help me understand how these platforms work, what's some of the etiquette for using them, and I know that's been a tremendous help to me. Then you can start following people, and I think that's the best way to potentially start learning how you want to be perceived on social media. So select some high-profile professionals that you admire and start seeing what they post in some of these groups. Then I'd just start sharing. And people sometimes underestimate the value of sharing content, but really that can send a powerful message. And what I say to a lot of CPOs is, if you're trying to communicate a message about where your company or your personal direction is, share articles and content that relate to that position so that you're continually reinforcing where you're coming from. For example, if you're in a cost down or an innovation focus, if you're only posting content related to that topic, your suppliers, your employees, your C-level will quickly learn that that's where you're heading. And it's a very powerful way of heading the ship in the right direction. I also say to CPOs, don't forget that your large corporate affairs departments for large companies are also on all these social channels. So if you're posting and seen to be an interesting thought leader, hopefully what will follow is invitations to present to the board or at large senior executive conferences that will help support your career. Blogging is a big topic, and I know that a lot of CPOs out there don't have the time nor the energy or the interest in blogging. But once you become familiar with social media, I would really encourage you to start thinking about the things that you can comment on. Each of us are in a very unique vantage point within our company, our industry and our profession. We learn so much. It's one of the great things about our profession. And you can really share some of your insights and learnings from that unique vantage point. So I would encourage you all to be brave and try the odd blog or two once you feel comfortable. To summarise, I'd like to share a little story. Last week I was shopping for some greeting cards, and I found myself laughing out loud in the department store. It was a cartoon and it showed 3 lanes. It was at a public swimming pool. And on the right-hand lane, they had people standing around the pool and just looking around. And there was a sign, the general bewilderment lane. In the middle, there were people sort of doing freestyle or front crawl, and that was the slow lane. And then you could see the people who really knew what they were doing, and they're in the fast lane. For the last 15 years, I've been trying to get procurement out of the slow lane and into the fast lane. And I think this is a perfect example of where CPOs have a great opportunity to really finesse their skills in social media, to get in the flow of information that's out there in the universe, and to really bring their teams along with them. So I really hope these tips have helped, and I look forward to catching up with you one day in person. Thank you.